Live. I'm live. All right. Are there any humans still here? Sorry, you guys. We had tech problems. Let me know if you're here and you're a human being. And maybe, Leslie, you can throw me the topic again. That would be great. We had a little tech problem. So join us anew. Hello. Hello. Let me know if you're here. Thank you for your patience with our tech issue. Are you here, human beings? Are you here? All right, I'm throwing the hi, Deirdre. Good to see you. Oh, here we are. All my old posts. Okay, things are starting to happen. There seems to be no delay now. All right, still human. Fantastic. Thanks, Ben. All right. Okay, well, let's dive in since we lost a few minutes there. All right. Talking on kind of like one of the more charged topics, I think, in our reality is, why is my relationship not working? Why haven't my relationships worked? Why did I start a relationship and it ended? Why does that happen to me? There are so many very specific reasons for relationship stuff that are, of course, always particular to the unique situation of that relationship. So the real answer, like the real answer to any question, is tell me more about the particular situation, and I can probably give you some insight or channel some information for you. But to speak about this in a kind of abstract way, I will do my best to speak on sort of some top three, four, five reasons that things don't work that get confused for other things. So the big one, and we talked about this here on Katie Church a couple weeks back. Every time I say Katie Church, it makes me laugh. That's why I called it Katie Church, because I think that's sort of hilarious. Okay, is the idea of compatibility not being love. So people think that when they feel the love feelings, now this is not everybody, but a lot of people fall into this sort of delusional reality where we feel the cozy, bright-hearted, connected, sexy chemistry, love feelings for someone. And then we stay in that relationship long past the moment when it stopped working for us as an individual, or them, or both of us. And we do that because of what we call love, which a lot of times is not actually love. Love is not always that crazy, amped up feeling. Love is, I really like Teal Swan's definition of love. And there are other teachers and writers and authors and thinkers and healers who've spoken about what love actually is and how we know and all that kind of stuff. I like what Teal Swan says because it's practical. She says love is taking someone else as a part of yourself, caring for, considering them so deeply that they are a part of you. So how would you treat a part of you becomes the question, which brings us to one of the main reasons relationships don't work is that we're not always great at dealing with parts of ourselves. So many people, instead of connecting with the parts of ourselves that are struggling, sitting with those parts, staying with those parts until we work through whatever it is that part is going through, we avoid those parts, we push them down, we repress them, we exile them in our psyches and our consciousnesses. And then what we want to have happen is we want our romantic partner to be with that part. But so we're sort of unconsciously assigning to our partners the task of caring for the parts of us that we won't care for. And this is a very damaging thing to relationship, because you're basically saying, take care of my inner child because I don't wanna, or take care of my inner child because I can't. And when a person gets involved romantically with someone else, they're not really signing up to take care of your inner child. That's not really their job. Now, someone who's an excellent partner is going to be loving toward your inner child, is going to honor that you have one, is going to speak to you in a way that your inner child can handle. But your partner is not dating your inner child. Your partner is dating you, your adult self, your spiritually evolved essence. Your partner, the reason they're with you is they see you 9 times out of 10 more clearly than you see you. They love you, the essence of you. You experience all the brokenness and the shatteredness of the parts of you, but they're in love with the essence of you, if they're actually in love with you. Now, sometimes one of the reasons, now that's if like it's a healthy thing, it's a healthy person you're with and they're with you for a great reason. But a lot of the times, the reason relationships don't work is because that's not what's going on. What's actually going on is an injured part of them is codependently enmeshed with an injured part of you, or an injured part of them is attracted to a toxic part of you, or a toxic part of them is attracted to an injured part of you, or you have karma from the past that you two are working out, or that person is a reflection in your reality of some issue or set of issues that you need to work through. So there are so many reasons relationships don't last forever. Always. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But there's so many reasons. It's like I said, at the beginning, I could talk forever about the different iterations of why it doesn't happen. But let's break this down again. I'm sort of talking all over the place. Number one reason is you're not compatible. It doesn't actually work in a practical way, but you feel the love feelings. So you try to make it work and you give up parts of yourself in order to make it work with someone with whom you're not actually compatible. Compatibility is a very practical thing that is not very romantic. It's just practical. I like on Friday nights I'm going to make stuff up, sit home and watch movies. And my partner wants to skydive every Friday night. And eventually he likes to skydive, Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And I want to watch even more movies. And before I know it, I'm lonely on the couch. So I call my friend over and he happens to be a dude. And then we're making out on the couch. Why? Because me and couch guy are actually more compatible than me and skydiving guy. Do I have all the feelings for skydiving guy? I sure might. Do I have a whole different set of feelings for compatibility couch guy? Yeah, probably. And it probably feels quite different. But what people often do is they choose the person they have the biggest, shiniest, most exciting feelings for. And what we have to understand about the big, shiny, exciting feelings is a lot of times, you guys, this is not good news. What I'm about to say, I'm sorry in advance. A lot of times, the very big, good, shiny feelings are an indication of something that needs healing in you that brought that person to you to shake loose whatever was behind that big, shiny pull that pulled you together. There are, for simplicity's sake, let's say 2 different kinds of shiny, connecty energy that pull people together. This is, again, I'm oversimplifying because this is like literally the biggest topic on earth and we could talk it to death and never get anywhere. Let's say there are only 2 kinds of pulley togethery energy. One is you are together to work something out, meaning, let's say you have trauma about men who are tall. So you attract a bunch of tall guys to work it out. Or let's say you have trauma with men who are tall. You're going to attract a bunch of short guys in order to realize you're afraid of men who are tall, but that's really what you want. There's a million things that the people who you have that shiny, attracted, gotta be with them feeling can the cause of that attraction and that feeling. Oftentimes, it is something you are working out. It can be something you're working out from a past life. Yes, it can also be something you're working out from this life, as I just gave the example of the trauma. Okay, maybe what you're working out is you don't feel attractive, and so you want to date a really hot person because that makes you feel more like maybe you have more value and worth because a hot person likes you and you don't think you're hot. Okay, that relationship will last as long as it needs to last until you realize that you have value and worth whether you're hot or not. And then you will lose interest in that hot person. Because if the relationship was there to teach you something, the moment you learn the lesson or process the pain or complete the karma, the relationship is over, because that is what the relationship was there to do. Now, the second kind of magnetic energy that pulls people together is like a soul connection with like someone who's you probably made a soul contract with before you incarnated to have each other's back and be each other's partner. Or depending on the type of soul you are, it's someone who you're really compatible with and you have the love feelings for, and it's going to work. You have enough in common and enough of the sticky, gluey love feelings for it to work. Okay. So reason number one, it sometimes doesn't work is because you're not compatible, but you want to be compatible because you have all the love feelings. This is like the most common one. You know how many people I know that come to sessions or have readings, or just people I run into in life who are like, yeah, he drives me crazy, but I love him. Or yeah, this is annoying and that's annoying. And I kind of hate this and I kind of hate that, but like, I love him. Okay. And they're miserable and they fight, or people who fight all the time and stay together. Now, sometimes, let's be real, fighting all the time is the thing both people want to do. So you're compatible. If both people love a good fight and you're happy fighting all the time, well, fucking A, you may be compatible. But I'm talking about people who are unhappy in the relationship, but stay because of the love feeling. Again, love, actual love that is sustainable and long lasting is like you have so much care for, regard for, and respect for the other person that you take them into you as a part of yourself. Now, that brings me to, why do people always say you can't love someone until you love yourself? I know for myself, I had a long relationship with this sentence because there was something in me that was like, I feel like that's probably true. But my feeling was it's going to take me so long to love myself because of how much injury I was carrying and how much healing work I knew I needed to do. How the hell was I going to wait until I loved myself in order to, find a partner? Well, unfortunately, I ran all the experiments you can run. And it's true. And here's what that means. Okay. And I'll tell you some of my own personal experiences to use as examples to make this point. But what it means is, in the same way that during a healing session, and if any of you guys have come to Katie Church, we've done enough of these, so you know what I'm talking about when I say healing session. In a healing session, one has to be willing to feel into the places inside of you that need transmutation, integration, processing, clearing, dissolving, whatever those places in you that are heavy or all sticky and not making you feel good, anxious, fearful, whatever they may be. There is literally no way to really heal any energy that you're not willing to face. If you're not willing to feel it, you kind of can't heal it. If you're not willing to face it, you definitely can't erase it. Ooh, I just made that one up. I like it. Rhymes are good. Keep that in your head. Rhymes are good. If you won't face it, you can't erase it. If you won't feel it, you can't heal it. It's true. Because what healing is it's taking love. And remember, love is when you take something as a part of yourself. You connect with that thing. You care for that thing as if it's a part of you. So healing is when you love some energy inside yourself that needs to go. But when we do healing work, okay, we're not like, oh, I'm goo and gaga for this part of me that needs to go. We often don't like the parts of us that need to go or that need to integrate or that need to process or whatever they need, right? So we're not like, I'm so in love with the part of me that's injured. No, but we love them as a practice, meaning we bring our attention to those parts. We pay attention. We feel into the heavy part. You guys, just by feeling into your trauma, that is you loving the part of you that is traumatized. Parts of us are traumatized because they are exiled and they have not been loved, meaning nobody has connected with them. They are alone. They're in exile inside your body and psyche. So the moment you put your felt sense You just bring your awareness and you feel into those places that are separate or injured or broken or full of darkness or full of entities or whatever is going on. Just by you connecting with them, it starts to move. It starts to integrate. It starts to process. So that's how healing works. So if there's any parts of you that you're not okay being with, any person you date or get romantically involved in who's standing out here outside of you, their love of you is going to touch up against all parts of you. It's just what love does. So when somebody loves you and you're not okay with, like, let's say this part right here, their love is going to seep into that part, and that part is going to get real freaked out and shaky and triggered, and it's going to find a way to push that person away. And so that's what we mean when we say, until you love yourself, you can't really receive love effectively from another, nor can you give it to another. So let me be clear about those two pieces. The reason you can't receive it from another is because, again, if there's a part of you you haven't loved, aka you've pushed it to the side or buried it, that their love is going to come in and touch on it, and this part is going to go, no, I don't do love, thanks very much, I'm in exile, and it's going to push back and push back and push back. Now, if you're less traumatized than some of us, you may have a part of you that's not been loved, and their love comes in and it goes, oh shit, love. And it opens to that love and it receives it and it cries and you become closer. So some people enter relationships never having loved certain parts of themselves. And then the love of their partner teaches them, the individual carrying the trauma, how to love themselves. But that's only if you have the capacity at that moment to receive love into your traumatized parts. Some of us don't have that capacity into certain of our parts. So it all depends on what can you receive and how resistant are you to love. So that's the reason you might not be able to receive it when it comes in. The reason you might not be able to give it is because 9 times out of 10, when you can't love parts of yourself and you attract someone else into your life, they are going to be carrying either the exact same thing that you have that you can't love inside yourself, or they're going to carry the opposite of it. That's how it works. This reality works on polarities, right? So let's say I can't love my own vulnerability, and I think vulnerability is just shameful and horrifying, and I just can't do it. So I'm just real tough and strong all the time, and I never admit when I need help, and I never admit that I have pain, and I never admit that I'm sad, even to myself. Then along comes Mr. Vulnerability sensitivity guy. Initially, I'm going to be very drawn to that because it's what I don't have, right? But then the closer I get to that sensitivity that person has, that vulnerability they have, is going to become a real threat to the part of me that will not love my vulnerability. So then I stop loving that person. I withhold my love of them because they're carrying the same energies I don't love in me. And that's the point of relationships. Relationships show up to show you where inside yourself you're either ready for more love or where inside yourself you need love. Allow me to say that again. Relationships of all kinds, but particularly the romantic kind, show up in your reality to show you where inside yourself you could use more love and are ready to take more, and or where inside yourself you are unwilling and unable to love you. They show up as a reflection of everywhere you're unwilling and unable to love yourself. So let me give an example here to make this a little more concrete. Before I give an example, though, let's review, because this is a lot. First reason relationships don't work: you're not compatible, but you feel the love feelings, so you don't want to let it go because you can't believe there will be a bigger love, or you can't believe you'll feel these feelings again, or you don't feel worthy of the feelings and they're here now, so you better keep it. Some fear voice comes into play, even though you're incompatible with the person in front of you, and you like that love feeling, so you stay, and you're miserable and you give up parts of yourself and they give up parts of themselves and nobody's really happy, but you stay because the love feelings. Okay, despite the incompatibility. Another reason they don't last is that relationship was meant to be a karmic relationship, meaning they came in to show you something, you saw it, you learned the lesson, that is healed now, and now you have no interest in that person because the whole thing that drew you together was that karmic completion point. Okay. And that's not wrong and bad, by the way. That's just what some relationships are. Some relationships are just literally here to teach you one thing and then move along. Okay. Another reason some relationships don't work romantically is because you can't love a part of you that their love then threatens or triggers. So you push them away, or they do that to you. Let's say you date somebody who's afraid of emotional availability or intimacy, and you are very open and intimate and available, and you come at them with all this love. And they initially are drawn to that because that's what they actually want on a soul level. But their ego is so triggered and threatened by how available you are because they are terrified of emotional intimacy. So they got to push you away. Or if it's you, you got to push them away. This is the one where there is work that can be done to transform certain energies and certain consciousnesses and certain states of being so that you can work it out and stay together. But that all depends on the readiness and the willingness of the individuals at hand. Lastly, you also have like unrequited love, where you love someone and they don't love you back. That's a thing that happens. It sucks, but it's a real thing. I've been on both ends of all of these, by the way. I have been the person on either side of each of these polarities, because the universe was like, you're going to need to know about all of this. This is a karmic lifetime for you. So let's go ahead and teach you all these things about what doesn't work so you can learn about what does, and so you can teach people about it. So no judgment here, believe me. I've been through all of it. It's how I know how to say any of these words. And I've had a lot of people help me through and help me name things accurately. That's why it can be so helpful to have somebody help you name what is going on. Why isn't this working? The compatibility one is a really big one that causes people to really need some outside help. Like a lot of times people have the love feelings for someone and they think, what is wrong with me that I can't make this work? When really there's nothing wrong with you. There's just an incompatibility. If we were going to say that in human design parlance, we would say, you don't have enough electromagnetic channels, or you have too many electromagnetic channels, or your gates and you compromise them too many places and they can't handle it, or you dominate them in too many places and they can't handle it, or they dominate you in too many places and you don't prefer that, or they compromise you in too many places and you don't prefer that, or they compromise you in a way that reminds you of your mom and that's too much for you. Thank you very much. So there's many, many reasons on a mechanics level, if you think in terms of human design, of the gates and the channels and which centers are defined and not defined. Many, many reasons mechanically why two people might not work out. And the way that normal people would say that would be, we're not compatible. It just doesn't work. Cool. So I was going to give a concrete example of, this is a really great example because it shows many, many aspects of this thing we're talking about. I had a beautiful, wonderful boyfriend in California who shall remain nameless for the sake of anonymity. And when we first were together, there was I don't remember, maybe 9 months in or something, I really hit a place where I was like, I got to break up with this person. We got to break up. And we had a talk. I had learned how to be honest. And I was like, I can't seem to get past this wall. And I think you're great. And something feels wrong. And I got to go. And I said, but I'm not sure, but I think I got to go. And it was a hard conversation, obviously. Then I went away for the weekend and I was in some workshop or some retreat somewhere. And on the weekend, I realized, like, I kept hearing, at the time I was working the 12 steps in the recovery programs, and I kept hearing my sponsor's voice in my head saying, talking about emotional availability and how threatening love is to any parts of yourself that are practiced at not receiving love. I kept hearing it. And by the way, that's a little spiritual tip for you, a little consciousness tip. When you keep hearing something in your head over and over and over again, that's like a little poke, like a little like a sentence that just repeats, 9 times out of 10, there's something useful in that sentence. Anyway, so I kept hearing that, my sponsor's voice in my head. I can't remember the exact words, but it was along those lines. And I realized I had to really sit with myself and go, am I resisting this person and wanting to break up with them literally because they love me And love to me is so entangled with fear and torment and control, as because it was entangled with that because of my childhood. Also, it was entangled with toxicity and darkness and icky, heavy shit that love should not be entangled with in an ideal world. I had to really ask myself that question. And in that case, when I came back from the weekend, I was still asking myself the question, trying to really be honest with myself. And when I saw my boyfriend again, I realized it. I broke down into tears and I realized I have been terrified to let your love in. And I was going to break up with your ass because a part of me is like, fuck love. Get away from me, love. The last thing I'm willing to receive from you is your love. And I had a really good cry, and he was a very generous man and very loving. And so he stayed with me, and we stayed together for a nice long chunk of time. And I loved him deeply the whole time we were together. And that was a real breakthrough for me. That relationship taught me just how resistant I was to being loved, and how terrifying and threatening to my injuries inside my soul and my heart love was. It was a total confrontation, because I had, as I said, love and trauma intertwined together, love and terror intertwined, love and manipulation, love and control, love and all kinds of shit that you don't want love entangled with. So I went to work on that. I got back together with him. He was kind. He held me lovingly through that. And I went to work on it in my healing sessions with my healer and my therapist and whoever I was working with. Cut to about a year later, we were having problems again. This time I started to notice myself pulling away, and I noticed myself starting to like look outside the relationship. And for me, anytime I'm looking outside, like that guy's cute and I wonder what that guy's doing, something's going on with me inside the relationship that has, like, I want to leave, but I don't feel like I can, or I feel like it's mean, or I don't want to break his heart, or there's something in me acting out that is, again, afraid of the intimacy or afraid of something that's going on in the relationship. So we went into couples therapy together, and we did a lot of work together. I give him so much credit, and I adore this man to this day. He's one of the best human beings I've ever known in my entire life, and probably many lifetimes. I just adore him to this day. We went to couples therapy, and I had to really sit with all those questions again. What is this about? The more therapy we did, and the more hard questions the therapist would ask us, I started to realize, wow, on a practical level, in reality, this person and I are not actually very compatible. I'm really into transformational healing, as you can tell. This person was not. I am very much surrendered to the divine light being the activating, animating force of everything in consciousness, meaning I believe in God. This person did not. This person had actual judgment of spiritual people. He didn't want to kind of admit that, but my version of spiritual people, he thought it was kind of stupid. And I don't fault him for that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but it was very threatening to me to have the closest person in my life think the thing I do with all of my time is not real. That was too painful for me. I move very quickly when I'm ready to make a decision about house things and purchasing things and cars. And he moved very slowly in a way that felt like I was always dragging him up the hill of life. And I could go on and on about things that in 3D reality, it just meant we were always at odds with each other. We worked on how do we argue, right? We had a whole thing about like, what's a fair and loving way to argue? And we could never succeed at doing it because we pushed each other's buttons so terribly. So even though I can tell you honestly, I have never been as in love with someone as I was with this person, I had to go. And eventually, when I realized this is a compatibility issue, when I broke up, I felt incredibly liberated. And I had a really fun time for a while right after, because I realized this is not a comment about him. It's about, I was so trapped in that relationship. I felt on a soul level so trapped not because of failings in him, but because we were incompatible. The mechanics didn't work. It's like trying to fit the wrong puzzle piece into the wrong puzzle piece in a puzzle. You try to fit that one that sort of looks like it's the one that goes in there, but it's kind of just doesn't quite work. That is torture on a soul. It's torment. And so when we broke up, I grieved and, cried all the time after that breakup, like for a long time. But at the same time, I felt 600 pounds lighter. And it was what taught me the difference between compatibility and what we call the love feeling, right? I'm still in love with that guy on a certain level. I'll always love him, which is another topic to discuss in this context, but I should probably save that for another day. Yeah, we'll do a whole other topic on what happens to the love between people when you break up. Excuse me. We'll talk about that on another episode. So the last little bit of excuse me, bit of example I want to give just a little bit on this topic of compatibility and the love feeling is I have loved narcissists. I have loved heroin addicts, active heroin addicts. I have loved sexual abuse survivors who haven't started working on their sexual abuse at all. And I'm talking about in love. I have been in love with the most emotionally unavailable actor, charming person you've ever met. I've been in love with people who are terrified of intimacy and could never love another person ever. I've been in love with the worst choices you could make. A drug dealer in high school, total hardcore drug dealer. I was getting straight A's. I was a freaking salutatorian. Was that true? Yeah. In high school, I was a salutatorian. In college, I was a fucking valedictorian, and I spoke at graduation. In love with a heroin addict. Okay? In the 12-step rooms, we have a saying. They say, my picker is broken. I don't really like that saying because it implies that it's like a permanent state of being, that your picker, who you pick, is broken. I would say my picker is injured. That's what I would say. Because today, my picker is not injured. My picker is so fucking sharp now and so honed. It knows exactly what's going to happen the moment I meet a person. And now I listen to it. That's the other good news, bad news about romantic stuff. 9.9 times out of 10, which is really 10 times out of 10. The moment you meet someone, you know exactly what the problems are going to be and why it's not going to work. But you don't want to know that you know that, because why? You won't get to feel the love feelings. And the love addict in you won't get to feel high and valued and worshiped and adored like we all want to feel, which is a very reasonable thing to want to feel. You're not bad and wrong for wanting to feel that. However, it does lead to really difficult consequences and really hard life lessons when we choose to go with the love feelings despite what we intuitively know are the problems in the relation, that we intuitively know moment fucking one are going to be the death of that relation. So you're best served to really trust what you know from moment one, because the things that you bury moment one, 100% of the time, always come back 6 to 9 months later. Give it a year and you'll be like, I cannot stand that thing. That thing is the death of us. And you break up anyway. But that's okay too, because perhaps what that relationship was for in your life was to teach you, see, I knew moment one. Now I get to trust my knowing. I get to trust my body. I get to trust my intuition about what I knew. One of the places people get in a lot of trouble with love is they go, I know, I have this feeling something's wrong. And then they pop up into their head. They go, but it shouldn't be, and I shouldn't be so judgmental. Something's wrong. They feel in their body, and then they pop up into their head. Oh, but how do I know that? There's no way I could know that. We just met. Or they feel something in their gut that says something is wrong. And then they pop up into their head and they analyze it. Am I doing that because of my childhood? Is that because of my trauma? Is that because of my dad? Does he look like my mom? Mental ideas about an intuitive awareness you had in your body. Hate to break it to you, but your body always knows. What does it know? It is conscious. It has conscious awareness. It knows the truth, capital T. Your mind has theories and calculations and plans that are made of Farts. Farts. That's how valuable what you got going on up here is. And I don't care if you have definition in your head, human design, or not. Farts. What needs to be followed is, what does your body know? What is the awareness you have? Remember that awareness, you guys. Awareness is what you know without knowing how you know it. You just fucking know it. You sometimes hate that you know it, but you fucking know it. It's what you know without knowing how you know it. What human beings love to do is say to themselves, well, I don't know how I know that, so it's got to be wrong. Well, I don't know how I know that, so I don't know that. Or I don't know how I know that, so that's crazy. Judgment. Judgment of what we know without knowing how we know it. Now, why do we judge that? Because we have been taught in this culture that the God of all gods is reason and logic. That is the height of consciousness according to the culture we live in, particularly in the Western world. Good news, bad news. Nerp. Not so. The body is the vehicle of awareness through which the divine communicates. And in some people's cases, the knowing body. So you can have awareness that comes through your head, but it's not thought. Thinking is different from knowing. Knowing is what it passes through your head. If you're a knowing person, if that's how you perceive your intuitive awarenesses, great. It can come through your head, but it's not a thought you thought up from your brain. You didn't do calculations with your logic calculator in your head that got you to the answers you wanted. Oops, looks like I'm lagging again. Hoping you guys can hear me. Okay, it looks like you can hear me, but there's a weird delay again. So annoying. I'm going to see if I can change that, but I don't think I can. Hello. Okay, I think we're back. Sort of. I'm like such a tech dummy that I'm turning my phone off because I'm thinking maybe that's draining bandwidth. I don't have any idea if that's logical or real in any way. It's all good, Jamie says on her end. Okay, great. So glad to hear it. Okay, so yes, so the point of that whole tangent was, oh, good. Thank you, Frida. I appreciate it. The point of that whole tangent was to say, I have been in love with, name a kind of person. If the wind blows, Katie Rubin can fall in love. People don't often believe this about me or know this about me, but I'm like a total romantic. You fucking look at me the right way, I love you. We're done. That's why I love my clients so much. Is like my clients and I, you guys and I, we like go fucking deep together. I have your back forever. I'm an Aquarius. We're very loyal people. So the moment there's like a pretty man and he looks at me nice in the eyes, oh, I love him forever. So imagine if you've dated me, I literally love you forever. We may not be able to be together because we may not be compatible for various reasons, but I fucking love you forever. So because I have that capacity to fall in love so quickly and fall in love with the fantasy of someone, and that's in my human design, by the way. I have the fantasy channel that's like, he's pretty, I love him, oh my God, we're gonna have babies, and my dress is gonna look like this, and the house I build with my hands is gonna be modern, and it's gonna be on the water. Like I've got it all going immediately. We met 20 seconds ago. We kissed once. I'm in a fairy tale. Totally, I have that in me, which is how I've learned these lessons the hard way. And it's fine by me because I've had a very interesting, non-boring life. And now I have things to share. So that's just fine. But I share them to kind of save you guys, hopefully, maybe, should it be relevant to you, some of the heartache that, my hard-won wisdom has created for me. So I think I want to pause here and see if anybody has any particular questions on this topic, either about like a current relationship that you're in, something you're going through now that you want to understand better the love about. And I promise to respond to your questions from a connection to source. Like I will ask consciousness how it wants me to respond. This topic in particular is so unique to the individual, so specific to you that it would be very irresponsible of me, I feel, for me to generalize back at you with any question you might have. So I'm really committed to not doing that. So does anybody have any conceptual questions about this, or practical questions about this, or things you'd like to share? Please throw it in the chat now. And I'll take those questions. Okay, Leslie. Thank you, Leslie, for a question. Is the compatibility based on horoscope, numerology, human design, and 16 personality traits true? Should we base how we look for a partner based on them? Really great question. Give me a second to see how they would have me respond to this. No. What if I just stopped there? No, and I'm done. No, here's why. The infinitely complex nature of you, Leslie, it's so much subtler and more complex than any simplification that a horoscope might give you. Now, that's not to say, like, if you work with an excellent astrologer, like our own Ben Ismail, for example, he could look at the entirety of your chart. Remember, you've got 12 houses and all kinds of fucking activations and trines and squares and all kinds of shit going on in a chart. And if he looked at the entirety of someone else's chart that you're dating, the whole thing, not just what is your sun and what is his moon, or what is his Venus and what is your Mercury. If he looked at the whole picture of both of the charts, he might actually be able to say to you, well, looks like there's not a lot of compatibility here, but if it's working for you guys, go for it. Or he might be able to say, like, wow, this looks like a ton of compatibility. And if I saw these two charts in a theoretical universe, it seems really good. But you might find that in the relationship with the person, he's like, these two charts are great together. You hate that person. So there are so many complexities to figuring out if someone works for you that have everything to do with what happens in the moment between you, aka the mechanics between you, that no chart or graph or system can tell you ahead of time. Now, that being said, what I do believe to be true is the way that it's helpful to work with astrology or human design once you're already in a relationship. And I want to go back and say one more thing about what I just said in a second. But the way to work with it once you're in it with someone is, and I said this to a client yesterday, you don't want to, because we were about to look at her chart compared to her husband's chart in human design and see like what happens when we put these two charts together. You don't want to look at a compatibility chart from the lens of, is it bad? Is it good? Do we have to break up? You want to look at it through the lens of, okay, where are the challenges in this connection? Where are the easy parts in this connection? How do we bolster the easy parts, and how do we work with the challenges? So astrology, numerology, human design, they should be used as tools once you're already with someone to determine, how do I work with this person and how do I work with them well? For example, let's say you're an Aquarius and you date a Taurus. In your ego, as an Aquarius, you're going to be very expansive, very freedom-seeking, very conceptual, very loyal, very expansive and chatty. A Taurus is going to be very kind of in themselves, quiet, earthy, grounded, simple, not so expansive, pretty stubborn. So those are very opposite energies. So if you're already dating a Taurus and you're Aquarius, you might go, how can I best work with his Tauran ways? Rather than, oh, this is a bad idea, let's not do it. Now, going back to the thing I said a second ago where I was like, I want to say another thing about that. I will say I have found it to be the case that certain signs and certain types are a better fit for certain other signs and other types. In a general way, you know, Aquarians do well with Scorpios and other Aquarians and Libras and some Arieses, but they can have challenges with Virgos sometimes, but it depends on the Virgo, and Leos and Taurans and Capricorns, except not always. So there are kind of generalizations that I have found to be true for myself. Like I don't know, if you and I start dating and I look at your chart and I realize you're triple Taurus, I am worried. I have a hard time with that much Taurus. I just do. I always have. But I'm not going to let it break us up. I'm going to see how things play out. I'm going to be present to this individual rather than base things on a system that's outside of me. I hope that answers your question, Leslie. Let me know if you have any follow-ups. Other questions about anything I've said tonight about any of this? Or what about questions that you guys have maybe about love at all or relationships at all? And it doesn't have to have anything to do with what I just said. All right, Gretchen, hello. I've been working to root out codependent behavior from my relationships through exploring different structures of relationship. Is a multiple relationship structure and the challenges which come with it conducive to this growth? This would be an example of a question that would have to be tailored to the individual. So I cannot say with any fairness or wisdom anything in a general way about your question. There's no general answer to that question. In your case, I get a no. Is that conducive to this growth? No. Why? Because what you're going to do is you're going to be dealing, if you have multiple partners, you're going to be dealing with your codependency from 6 different angles. So it's just going to be more complex and harder. And also because of the particular trauma you're carrying, you're going to be dealing with so many different intricacies between you and the other people, plural, that it'll be hard to focus on the codependency in and of itself. A better choice would be in your case. This is not for everybody. This is just you in your case. Okay. As I feel into it. A better choice would be in your case to hone in on one person. And every time the codependency comes up, work with it inside yourself and work with it between them and you and see what you learn. And then when and if that relationship ends, great, move on to the next one. I don't, despite how it can sometimes seem talking to me, I do not have a judgment of people being in multiple relationships at once. It really does work for a certain group of people. So fucking do it. But to answer your question, is this the most conducive way to deal with this particular codependency issue with relationships for you? It's like such a no. My body wants to turn over there because my nose are to the right. It's like, whoa, let's go to Jamaica. I hope that's helpful. It's a very direct answer. So I'm sending you lots of love with that difficult, very direct answer. But thank you for the bravery of the question. Now, for someone else, it could be a really great way to work through it. It sure could be. My pleasure. All right. Does anyone else have a question about romance, love, connection, love addiction, merging, compatibility, loving yourself, not loving yourself, taking someone as a part of yourself? What does it mean? What do these words mean? Or does anyone have a specific example from their lives that they'd like to ask about? Please throw them in the chat. This is your time, friends. We got 6 minutes. Enjoy. Dive in. Now's your moment. And it can be very specific to your life. It doesn't have to be about exactly what I just spoke of. And if not, we can wrap up early for tonight. I'm happy to take this dog to the dog park earlier. That's where we're going next. That's what I'm petting in the fog of the background of, look at that. My hand goes from hand to fog. Oh, wait, to fog. Oh, wait. There it is. I love that. It's like it goes into another dimension. All right. Nobody else has a question? I kind of can't believe that. This is like the most charged topic in the history of time. You guys all got your love stuff figured out? All right. Well, I have no more words to say on the topic. So guys, thank you for being here. And I appreciate you. And we'll be back next week. I think next week we're going to do a healing / question and answer session. So come with whatever you need to heal or process. Come with whatever questions you have about anything particular to your life or your friends' lives or whatever you need to know specifically. That's what we'll do next Wednesday. I love you guys so much. My pleasure, Frida. Good to see you here. I miss you in class. Come back. We miss you. All right, friends. Have a great night. Take care. Bye. Say bye, Squeezel. She said bye.